Good morning for the members of the public that are viewing or attending this meeting. Welcome to the public hearing of the proposed budget for the State Bar of Texas. My name is Trey Apfel and I'm the Executive Director of the State Bar. Today I will present the budget highlights and then open the meeting up for questions or comments. A copy of the formal budget is available as a handout, or you may find it online at texasbar.com/ourfinances. I will now officially open this meeting. This is the public hearing on the State Bar of Texas's proposed budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. Notice of this hearing was published in the Texas Register and in the March 2022 issue of the Texas Bar Journal. This meeting is held in accordance with the requirements of Texas Government Code Section 81.002B. The formal proposed budget that I will be discussing today looks like the snapshot on this particular slide. A more detailed report of each department's proposed budgeted revenues and expenditures, along with a description of each department, is available on the Our Finances page of our website. Today, we will focus on the general fund of the State Bar, which is the main operating fund and contains most of the bar's financial activity. The proposed general fund budget includes revenues and receipts from reserves in the amount of $49,545,155 and has an equal amount of expenditures, transfers out, and proposed board commitments. And this results in a balanced budget. When comparing the current proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 2022-2023 to the adopted budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, both revenues and expenditures have increased by 10%. The primary reason for the increase in budget is due to an increase in the receipts from reserves and board committed expenditures, as you can see in this slide. We will go into detail on the board committed expenditures later during my presentation. When comparing the operating budget of the State Bar, the operating revenues are budgeted to increase by approximately $371,000 or 1%. The increase in revenues is primarily from the modest budgeting for revenue categories during a pandemic recovery period. The operating expenditures are budgeted to increase by 3% or $1.3 million, which is in line with our historical trends. Salaries expenditures is the largest category of expense of the budget. This chart presents a comparison of budgeted general fund salaries compared to the total budgeted expenditures of the bar. Over the past 10 years, this trend has remained stable, right at 41% to 42% of total budgeted expenditures and transfers. Specifically, the budget for salaries is 3.8% higher in the proposed budget compared with the current adopted budget. This increase is also in line with our historical trends. 3 annual transfers are included in the general fund budget, and I want to highlight those now for you. Section 3.08 of the board policy manual requires the first 2 annual transfers. The first is a transfer of $288,800, which goes to the building fund, which is a separate fund used to replace capital equipment at the Law Center and the 1415 Lavaca building. The next transfer is a $500,000 transfer to the client security fund. This transfer is $200,000 above the minimum annual transfer required by our board policy manual. And then the third transfer is in the amount of $500,000 to our technology fund, which is a separate fund used to purchase and develop the bar's information technology infrastructure. One of the Budget Committee's duties each year is to make a recommendation to the board regarding commitment of any increase in the fund balance resulting from the previous year's financial activities and operations. The audit for fiscal year 2021 has been completed, and the total amount available for commitment by the State Bar Board is $7,610,066 for fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. This amount comes from excess funds from the fiscal year 2020-2021 financial operations. The Budget Committee is recommending the following designations for these funds, which I will discuss in the next slides. The first item is a designation of $2,041,833 to replenish the level of our minimum reserves from 2.5 months to 3.1 months of operating expenditures, bringing the total amount held in reserves to the amount of $11,408,307. The next item is a designation of $941,792 to fund operations of the State Bar for fiscal year 2022-2023. Budgeted revenues increased by only 1%, or $371,744 from fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2023. However, during pre-pandemic years, budgeted revenues increased on average of 3%, or approximately $1.2 million from one year to the next. It's anticipated that revenues will return to pre-pandemic levels by the end of fiscal year 2023. However, this funding from unspent savings will allow operations and programs to continue until revenues recover from the pandemic. The next item is a commitment of $150,000 to raise the balance maintained in our legal reserve account. The next item is a commitment of $49,596 to raise the balance maintained as a reserve for future presidential initiatives, bringing it to a total of $200,000. The balance in the presidential initiatives account sets aside funds for future initiatives and also funds prior presidential initiatives that are still active. The next item is a commitment of $800,000 to the Client Security Fund. The Client Security Fund was established by the State Bar of Texas to protect the integrity of the legal profession through discretionary grants to clients who have been harmed by their lawyer's theft or failure to refund an unearned fee. Unless a lawyer is already deceased, disbarred, or resigned, a client must file a grievance, which results in a disciplinary sanction to become eligible to apply to the fund. This commitment, when combined with the $500,000 annual transfer from the general fund and the $200,000 board commitment from fiscal year 2021-2022, would bring the total contribution to the Client Security Fund to $1,500,000 for this proposed year. The next item is a commitment of $300,000 for the Access to Justice Foundation Student Loan Repayment Assistance Program. The Student Loan Repayment Program provides assistance to attorneys who work full-time for Texas's legal aid programs that meet certain requirements. The next item is a commitment of $1,500,000 to the State Bar's Technology Fund. This commitment will fund in part the system development and replacement of essential IT infrastructure at the State Bar. The next item is a commitment of $1,248,502 for the Building Fund. These funds are needed for the anticipated renovation and repair of the 1415 Lavaca building and to supplement repairs and renovations needed at the Law Center. And the next item is a commitment of $500,000 to the Sharon Crowley Lawyer Wellness Trust. The Patrick D. Sharon and Michael J. Crowley Lawyer Wellness Trust provide financial help to Texas attorneys, judges, and law students who need treatment for substance use, depression, and other mental health issues. This contribution will assist the trust in keeping up with an influx of activity due to the stresses brought on by the pandemic. And then the last commitment is a commitment of $78,343,000 to replenish the reserves maintained for future membership rules votes. This board commitment would bring the rules vote reserves to $150,000. This completes my presentation, and I will now take any questions about the bar's proposed budget for fiscal year 2022-2023 from anyone in attendance. And seeing none, I just want to announce that this budget hearing is held open to the public. Our president-elect, Laura Gibson, submitted by anyone in attendance. And with there being no questions submitted from the public, we will now close the meeting. The proposed budget of the State Bar of Texas for fiscal year 2022-2023 was presented to the public, and the meeting was open for discussion. The Budget Committee will consider the comments made by the public when submitting the proposed budget to the Board of Directors for consideration. I now declare this hearing closed.